Hello, guys. Welcome to TVM Academy. This is RC number 48 of our free practice course for CAT verbal section, VARC 100. As usual, the RC was shared on our Telegram group in PDF format. It was also uploaded on our portal in the test format. Links are available in the description box of this video. Let's begin RC number 48. A quick synopsis of the passage. In the first paragraph, author tells us that the political offense exception to extradition rules is problematic in case of terrorist acts. What does that mean? So what is extradition? Basically, it is the process by which a country sends a criminal back to another country where he has been convicted or accused of a crime. That is extradition. But there's a particular category of crimes, political offenses, for which countries do not return the criminal to the origin country, okay, or where the crime has been committed. So this exception, author says, this political offense exception to extradition rules has been problematic in case of terrorist acts, okay. In the second paragraph, he tells us that the political offense exception has become an accepted principle with time, thanks to the denial by nations to return criminals on political and legal grounds. So nations argue that they don't have a legal or moral obligation to return the criminals to their countries, right? So with the time, this political offense exception, therefore, has become an accepted principle. In the third paragraph, he tells us that the definition of political offense in itself is ambiguous. So there is no agreement as to whether terrorist acts are also political crimes. Is it also a political offense? That is where the problem lies. And in the last paragraph, he urges international governments to find out a solution to this problem. And he says it is time to re-examine the political offense exception to extradition. It should not offer immunity to terrorists while ensuring protection of the rights of the requested criminals. So basically, a balance has to be maintained in an attempt to protect the rights of criminals being requested by the other countries. The political offense exception should not provide immunity to terrorists. That's what he says. So the passage was a moderate read, not a difficult read, an easy read, I would say, rather easy to moderate. Let's look at the questions now. What is the primary purpose of this passage? What does the author primarily intend to do, seeks to do? Okay. Option A, to define a set of terms and clarify the distinction involved. First problem, there are no set of terms involved. There's only one term, political offense. And author is not defining it either. Rather, he maintains that the term is ambiguous and this ambiguity should be resolved. So he's not defining a set of terms, factually incorrect. Option B, to outline a new approach in dealing with political offenders. May be tempting for some of you, but please note, author is not outlining any new approach. Outlining something means defining the characteristics of a new approach. Has the author proposed any new approach? In the last paragraph, he only requests or urges governments to find out an alternative approach, a new approach to dealing with political offenders. He urges the government to do so. He himself does not propose any new approach or outline the features or characteristics of it. Therefore, option B is beyond scope, beyond the scope. Option C, to describe a current problem, yes, political offense exception as applied in the cases of terrorism. That's a problem. And to plead for a remedial action. Last paragraph, clearly he pleads for remedial action. So option C should be the answer. The style of writing matches. Option D, to expose an illegal practice of several nations. Author never calls this political offense exception illegal in nature. So this part is again factually incorrect. Question 2. Which of the following best describes the author's view of political offense exception? Okay, so basically overall gist, what is the author's attitude or tone towards political offense exception? Option A, it is a dubious distinction open to discretionary interpretation. Now, does the author of this passage think that the political offense exception is a dubious distinction? Second last paragraph, third paragraph of the passage. First line itself, he says, there is no international consensus, however, as to what constitutes a political offense. So it is not clear. There is no consensus as to what constitutes a political offense. The definition of political offense is ambiguous, is dubious. Therefore, yes, according to the author, political offense exception is a dubious distinction, which is open to discretionary interpretation. Discretionary means subjective interpretation. Everybody, every country has its own interpretation of, yes, that's what the nature of the argument is. Option B, it is the root cause behind spreading tentacles of terrorism. Now, author never goes to the extent of calling this political offense exception the root cause behind terrorism. He says it offers immunity to terrorists, yes, but is it the root cause behind terrorists? He has not gone to that extent. So this is exaggerated beyond the scope again. Okay, option C. It is an ambiguous territory. This part is correct. According to the author, political offense exception is an ambiguous territory used by nations to serve their propaganda. This part is alien to the passage. Author never mentions that countries are using this political offense exception to serve their propaganda. Option D, it is an internationally recognized practice for fair treatment of criminals. Well, it is a practice for fair treatment of criminals. This part is correct. However, does it capture the author's attitude towards political offense exception? He's pointing out a problem in political offense exception in acts of terrorism. This becomes ambiguous basically. So option D does not capture that tone, this dissatisfaction, author's dissatisfaction with political offense exception. Therefore, this is out. Second reason, passage does not tell us that it is an internationally recognized practice. As a matter of fact, second paragraph, last line, author says the political offense exception has gradually become an accepted principle among Western nations. So is it an internationally recognized practice? It is just an accepted practice in Western nations. So even this word is exaggerated. Therefore, option B goes out. Question 3. Given the discussion in the passage, which one of the following distinctions does the author consider particularly problematic? Okay, so which of the following distinctions? Option A, between common crimes and relative political offenses. Okay, third paragraph, author does say there are some common crimes that are so inseparable from a political act that the entire offense is regarded as political. These crimes, which are called relative political offenses, are generally non-extraditable. So basically, there is no agreement about what transforms a common crime into a political offense. So what is the distinction? He says that there are some common crimes which are political in nature, and they are called relative political crimes. And this distinction is dubious now. This is the most problematic distinction. So option A could be the correct answer. He finds the distinction between common crimes and relative political offenses the most problematic, troubling. Option A is the answer. Could be the answer. Option B, between pure political offenses and common crimes. No, this distinction is clear. There's no problem in distinguishing between pure political offenses and common crimes. The first part of the paragraph tells us that this distinction is clear. Okay, there's no problem here. Between pure political offenses and relative political offenses, again, nothing of this nature has been mentioned in this paragraph, that it is difficult to identify or to separate pure political offenses from relative political offenses, nothing. Between terrorist acts and the acts of espionage, totally alien to the passage, so goes out. Question 4. According to the author, the primary purpose of the political offense exception should be to do what? Okay. The only rational, last paragraph he says, the only rational and attainable objective of the exception is to protect the requested person against unfair treatment by the requesting country. That should be the attainable objective, and that is the only rational objective, the only rational, logical, plausible objective. Okay. So the primary purpose should be this only, to protect the requested person against unfair treatment by the requesting country. Option A, to ensure that terrorists are tried for their acts, goes opposite to the nature of the argument here. Also, it is not specific to terrorists. The goal is not limited to terrorists. For every criminal who is being requested by a country, at least he should get fair treatment. That is what he should be protected against unfair treatment by the country. That is the goal. So it is not specific to terrorists. Option B, to provide political criminals immunity against persecution. Now, what is persecution? Persecution is bad treatment. Bad treatment, unfair treatment. Exactly, this is what the sentence says. It should provide, protection. Protection means immunity against bad treatment, unfair treatment. That is the objective of, primary purpose of this political offense exception. To offer diplomatic immunity to political, there's no talk of diplomatic immunity, so alien. To limit extradition to those accused of relative political offenses. Author does not say that only those accused of relative political offenses should be extradited. Okay, so this is again alien to the discussion in the last paragraph. Last question. Author would most likely agree that the political offense exception, okay, is option A, has been a modestly useful weapon against terrorism. To the contrary, he says in some cases it provides protection to terrorists. So it has not been modestly useful weapon against terrorism. But yeah, this modestly tells us that it has, had there been another word, has only been a modestly useful weapon against terrorism, then probably it would be more confusing. However, even in that case, political offense exception has not been a weapon at all against terrorism. In fact, it has been a shield for terrorists. Rather than a weapon against them, it has been a shield. It protects them, somewhat. So option A, the phrasing of option A is incorrect. The word weapon is incorrect. Its goal was never to target terrorists. Okay. Option B, it has never met the objective for which it was originally established. Well, a very strong argument. For the extreme modifier, never. It has never met the objective. Author does not go to the extent of saying that it has never met the objective. So exaggerated, extreme answer choice. Option C, it has been of more academic than practical value to political dissidents. Well. The last part of answer choice is wrong, factually incorrect. It has been more academic than of practical value to not to political dissidents. Political dissidents have been saved. Political dissidents have actually been saved. So the distinction between common crime and relative political crime has been of more academic value than any practical value. That is what the author says. C would mean that political dissidents, those who have objected against their governments, they have not been, that they have not been protected by the political offense exception if they leave their country. So this political offense exception has not protected them. It has not given them any practical value. Such an argument was never made by the author. So the choice of words in option C is confusing, but the meaning is not what we need here. So this part is also factually incorrect. Option D, political offense exception has in some cases been stretched beyond intended use clearly. That is the problem he highlights in the passage, that what are the it has been stretched beyond intended use in case of terrorism. It has been. So in some cases, terrorists have also gotten immunity because of this exception. Actually the main idea of the passage itself. I hope you enjoyed the passage. Easy passage. I hope you got all of them right, all 5. I also hope that you have improved from day 1 to day 48. Another important information, after RC50, RC51 onwards, no PDFs will be shared on our Telegram group. You have to write all these as tests on our portal. Therefore, if you have not registered yet on our portal, please do so and buy the VARC 100 free course. When I say buy, I mean there's no transaction amount that you have to pay. You just have to register, sign up for this free course. So sign up for this VARC 100 free course on our portal if you want to continue practicing. Thank you very much. Do not forget to like the video and share it with your friends. Bye-bye. Until next time, cheers to learning.